Mangwana ni Malelepo Fokenja ni Kaikas Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, your portal into Africa's potent stories. On today's broadcast, Mali's former Prime Minister Moussa Mara is charged for defying junta politics via social media. The African Union takes over peace initiatives in conflict-torn Eastern DRC. Nigerian nurses end a strike after reaching a government deal. Kemi Badenoch reveals why she no longer identifies as Nigerian, in spite of being UK's conservative leader. Now, South African scientists are weaponizing rhino horns safely. Mike Suchila also joins us from Zambia with major developments in diplomacy, skills, as well as sport, plus Ghana's cocoa diplomacy and Rachel More Oshodi's $7 billion African impact. Watch AGM on DStv 285, GOtv 25, 1up2.com, and NTV Africa on YouTube. My name is Ashwin Berry. Top story shortly.
Irango Med is a leading distributor working in partnership with NewMed and WestMed to meet the comprehensive needs of the Namibian healthcare sector. As a partner pursuing sustainable global healthcare, we offer industry-leading medical solutions through our key focus areas, which include pharmaceuticals, orthopedics, ophthalmology, surgical devices and capital equipment, as well as a well-established scientific laboratory division. In healthcare, Irango Med is committed to making a difference. What about you?
Moussa Mara, who is the former Prime Minister of Mali, has been formally charged with undermining the credibility of the state after posting on X in July following visits to detained opposition figures, expressing unwavering solidarity with prisoners of conscience. A decade ago, he served 9 months as Prime Minister, but has recently become a critic of the military junta that came to power in 2 coups in 2020 and 2021, and which dissolved all political parties in May amid rare protests. Questioned twice by the cybercrime unit over his 4 July X message, he declared that his visits kept alive the flame of hope and vowed that as long as the night lasts, the sun will to make that happen. Authorities now say referencing prisoners of conscience and committing to fight for them constitute crimes. In addition to undermining state credibility, Mara is charged with opposing legitimate authority and inciting public disorder. His trial is scheduled for 29 September. Earlier, Mali's transitional parliament granted military leader General Assimi Goita a 5-year term without elections, despite promises to restore multi-party rule. Moving on. African leaders have agreed to consolidate multiple regional mediation efforts into a single process led by the African Union to resolve the conflict in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. At a meeting chaired by Kenyan President William Ruto and Zimbabwean President Emerson Mnangagwa, representatives of the AU, EAC, and SADC agreed to merge their mediation and secretariat structures into a unified architecture based in Addis Ababa. Ruto described it as a turning point, stating that it brings all initiatives from Nairobi and Luanda and beyond into one coherent peace process regarding the dire humanitarian and security crisis that threatens not only Eastern DRC but also Rwanda and the region. Earlier in July, M23 rebels backed by Rwanda and the DRC signed a declaration of principles for a permanent ceasefire hailed by the AU as a major milestone. Facilitated by Qatar, a separate U.S. brokered agreement at the State Department drew praise from Secretary of State Marco Rubio as a key moment after decades of conflict. M23, which led major territorial gains earlier this year, has caused thousands of deaths and displaced nearly 7 million people in one of Africa's longest-running conflicts. In our next story, Nigerian nurses have ended a week-long warning strike after securing a deal with the government that promises to address their core demands. The strike, which began on July 30, left public hospitals understaffed with patients in distress and emergency wards nearly deserted, especially in Lagos. The National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives confirmed the suspension on Saturday following a meeting with top government officials. According to the union, the government has provided clear timelines for the implementation of improved conditions, including better pay, working environments, as well as increased recruitment of nurses. Minister of Health and Social Welfare Ali Pate and Labour Minister Mohammed Digyadi led the negotiations, pledging full commitment to the agreed resolutions. Crucially, the deal includes assurances that no nurses will face disciplinary action for their participation in the strike. The union emphasized that it would closely monitor the government's fulfillment of the signed Memorandum of Understanding. Now, the nurses had initially warned that failure to meet their demands within 7 days would trigger an indefinite strike, a move which has now been averted, at least for the time being. In the UK, Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch has declared that while she is Nigerian through ancestry, she no longer identifies as Nigerian and has not renewed a Nigerian passport since the early 2000s. Born in the UK and raised across Nigeria and the US, Badenoch returned to England at 16 due to deteriorating conditions in Nigeria and to pursue education. On a podcast, she said she retains Nigerian heritage but by identity and does not feel Nigerian. Her statement follows criticism from Nigeria's vice president, who accused her of denigrating the country. Badenoch described her upbringing and visits to Nigeria, such as when her father died, which required a visa, as complicated experiences contributing to her sense of not belonging. She explained that she did not experience meaningful racial prejudice in the UK, found people treated her normally, and that this is why she often defends the UK against accusations of racism. Badenoch said she grew up with fear and insecurity in Nigeria due to corruption. She maintains strong interest and family ties there, but affirms that home is where my now family is, and she simply never felt the need to renew her passport or identify as Nigerian. A team at the University of Witwatersrand, WITS, has launched a rhizotope project which injects harmless radioactive material into rhino horns to allow customs authorities to detect smuggled horns globally. The 6-year, $290,000 initiative conducted with the International Atomic Energy Agency demonstrated detection even inside full 40-foot shipping containers. The pilot of 20 rhinos confirmed the material is completely safe. Professor James Larkin described the tool as proactive against poaching, recently averaging at least 1 rhino per day in South Africa, adding that without new tools, the figures will only worsen. Jamie Joseph, a rhino campaigner, called it innovative and much needed, noting it helps map illegal trafficking and disrupt horn flows, though broader legislative and political reforms remain essential. Since 2021, over 400 rhinos per year have been poached in South Africa, where white rhinos are threatened and black rhinos are crucially endangered. Project head Jessica Babish said scaling the technology can protect both rhinos and Africa's natural heritage, emphasizing the global status symbol and traditional medicine demand driving illegal horn exports to Asia. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. Shortly, we're going to be talking to Mike Sichula as he delivers the Zambia report. But prior to that, let's have a look at the weather.
Welcome to Namibia, where adventure meets tranquility. With Enjoy, you have access to a wide range of accommodations to suit every traveler's taste and budget. Experience the finest dining and hospitality Namibia has to offer. Booking your dream accommodation is just a few clicks away with Enjoy. Join thousands of happy travelers who have trusted Enjoy for their Namibian getaway. Your gateway to unforgettable Namibian adventures. Visit us today at enjoy.my.na.
All right, we're hoping Max Sichula can join us. He has been having some connectivity issues. But just to highlight some of the stories that he will be delivering, Zambia and Botswana signed 3 MOUs at the inaugural session of the Binational Commission. The MOUs include rules of procedure for the Binational Commission meetings, cooperation in disaster risk management for transboundary disaster response, and collaboration in health under the SADC protocol to strengthen regional health systems. It is important to note that Zambia was hosting Botswana's President Duma Boko, who was in the country for these binational meetings. Duma Boko was with Hakainde Hichilema. Of course, we now move over to our next story from Zambia. Zambia will host the first ever Industrial Skills Week, which is going to be in Lusaka. It's set for September 9 to 10, 2025. Mike Sichula, I believe, is with us now. Good morning, Mr. Sichula. How are you, sir?
Africa, good morning to our dear viewers. I'm very well, thank you.
It's good to have you on the show, sir. I just briefly highlighted the MOUs signed between Zambia and Botswana. Could you please take us from your first story? Mr. Sichula? It seems like we're going to have... It seems like we're having a bit of an issue.
The other MOU is about enhancing.
Please go through your first story, sir, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can. So one of the other MOUs that Zambia and Botswana between the two countries in disaster management, prevention, and also trying to ensure that those things are prevented before they cause major damage. Then the other MOU that the two countries signed at State House involves the partnership between the two countries in the fight against HIV and AIDS, especially in the border area.
Okay, so we're having some connectivity issues with Mr. Mike Sichula. We certainly hope that we'll be able to catch up with him in the week. But for now, I'm going to go through the stories that he did provide. Zambia will host the first ever Industrial Skills Week, which is set for Lusaka next month, September 9 to 10, 2025. The event is in partnership with Alda NEPAD and aims to drive dialogue on aligning skills with Africa's industrial goals. Now, Minister Felix Motati says it will address gaps between labor demands and available skills. Have a look.
Government of the Republic of Zambia is excited to host the Skills Industrialization Week, which is a new initiative by the Chief Executive Officer of the African Union Development Agency. This program will be called Skills Industrialization Week. This will be anchored under the Energize Africa program, and we are excited to host it in Lusaka Zambia during the week of the 8th of September this year. The government will collaborate with the private sector, such as the Zambia Manufacturing Association and their other sister African organizations, entrepreneurs, industrial leaders, to showcase what sort of skills are required by Africa, particularly in the coming years. We want to assure our fellow African countries that there is no substitute to sharpening the skills in order to tackle the various challenges that Africa faces. And let's seize this opportunity in September to bring in our boys and girls to sharpen the skills for the sake of Africa. And we want to thank the support from GIZ and AU NEPAT, who have been very passionate about skills, but beyond that, are going to support us with the funding.
It seems like Mr. Sichula is back with us. We're going to give it another shot. Mr. Sichula, please get into your third story. Zambia is set to implement biometric voter ID system ahead of 2026 elections. All right, it seems like Mike Sichula cannot hear me there, but of course he's starting his morning as healthily as possible. All right, let's continue. Ambrose Lufuma says the system, keeping in mind we're talking about the biometric voter ID system, which is coming ahead of the 2026 elections in Zambia. Ambrose Lufuma says the system will help the Electoral Commission verify genuine voters and prevent duplicate entries. Over 3.5 million new voters will be added to the existing 7 million, with final verification set for April 30, 2026. Now, of course, we're expecting the social media conversation around this biometric voter system to be quite interesting. As you know, the UPND is in power with President Hakainde Hichilema. The PF, seemingly leaderless, are still contrarians in every form of the word, particularly when it comes to the current administration. So we'll be paying attention to that, because Zambians are certainly going to be reacting. Some people may feel like this could open up to some processes which are not fully in line with the ethics of elections, and others may feel like this is the best way to secure votes. If you're Zambian and you're watching Africa Good Morning, do let us know what you think. Africa Good Morning on Facebook. You can also follow Africa Good Morning on TikTok. That's one word. Now, let's talk about someone who is very familiar across Zambia and Southern Africa. Yo Maps, Zambian musical icon, is seeking custody of his daughter Bukata from his ex-wife. Elton Yo Maps Mulenga has taken legal action to gain full custody of his daughter. He claims he has consistently sent support but is denied access, prompting his court application to alter the existing maintenance order from 2022. That is going to be quite an interesting one. Your Maps is very, very popular, and his relationship with his ex-wife also hasn't escaped the spotlight. It is known in the legal fraternity, and everybody should know this, that everyone has the right to see their child. Whether he has actually been denied access stands for to be confirmed by the courts, and we'll see how that one unfolds. And Mike Sichula also had some sports, just a short sport update. Shamambo sets new Zambian freestyle record in Singapore. Damian Shamambo clocked 23.42 seconds in the 50-meter freestyle at the World Aquatics Championships, breaking his previous record of 23.80. Representing Zambia, he now holds the national record and his personal best. As the Zambians like to say, Zambia Kochalo, which means Zambia to the world. This is Africa Good Morning. Let's have a look at the economic indicators just before we swing over into the economic news. Welcome back to Africa Good Morning as we delve into our economic news. Even though the economic news itself is going to be focused on just one individual, however, her influence is broad. Rachel More Oshodi, CEO of ARM Harith Infrastructure Investments, has overseen more than $7 billion in transformative African infrastructure projects, drawing on global experience to drive local impact. Growing up between Europe and Africa exposed her early to stark disparities in basic services, showing a determination to help bridge gaps in access. Her previous roles in institutions like the Inter-American Development Bank and IFC informed her approach to development finance, and upon returning to Nigeria in 2012, she dedicated her career to structuring climate-smart, inclusive energy, transport, and digital sectors. One signature achievement, the Azura Edo Independent Power Project, was Nigeria's first privately financed power plant under its new regulatory regime, involving complex coordination among regulators, local pension funds, and international financiers over 8 years. More Oshodi coins infrastructure projects in Africa as some of the most rigorously de-risked globally, with local non-performing asset rates than Latin America or Asia. Her innovative financing models, such as enabling early returns for pension funds, have helped unlock domestic capital and attract cautious investors. Acknowledged as one of Forbes' Africa's most powerful women, she is part of a new wave of women reshaping Africa's development, while underscoring that sustainable progress demands both capital and leadership grounded in lived experience. Thank you very much for joining us on Africa Good Morning, DStv 285, GOtv 25 on YouTube, its Network Media Hub, and NTV Africa. And of course, oneup2.com is where you can find us at any time, at your time. Of course, if you click echo on oneup2.com, you have access to not just this episode, other Africa Good Morning episodes, as well as NTV shows. So oneup2.com, click echo, where prime time is anytime. From me, Ashwin Bedi, and the Africa Good Morning team, Sweda Jaganaka.